Nanticoke Gardens is now open. Come check out our high-quality, locally grown annuals and perennials that are great for early season planting. We have every color of pansies and violas you can imagine. Perennials for the sun, perennials for the shade. Come talk to your local professional grower to find out which plants will work for you. Shake off those winter blues with a walk through our colorful greenhouses. Nanticoke Gardens. We know what we grow. Route 26 North in Endicott. Hello, we're coming to you from Nanticoke Gardens in Endicott, New York. My name is Pete Schaefer.
And I'm Chip Schaefer.
And we are the owners of this greenhouse operation. We have a crew of growers here that have been working hard to get this place looking like it is. As you can see, all the color behind us. And we're filming this because we wanted to give you guys an inside scoop, behind the scenes shots of how everything gets to be the way it is now. You may drive by our location in the wintertime and see the place looking very desolate, but in fact there's a crew of people working here very hard to bring you the plants that you love. And we wanted to give you an inside scoop on how all of that happens here on site. Another reason we wanted to put this together, oftentimes we may hear customers shopping here during the season, and if we run out of an item, we may hear the question, when is your next truck arriving? When is your next shipment coming in of begonias, for example? And our reply to them is simply, we grow everything here, so we don't have any other shipments coming in. And we wanted to let people know how that actually happens here on site.
So as Pete said, we've been busy since the beginning of February or so, starting seeds, planting unrooted cuttings, and planting rooted cuttings. Those are the three main ways that we start plants here at Nanticoke Gardens. So without further ado, it's been a long winter, and I'm sure you guys are ready to see some plants.
Nanticoke Gardens is now open. Come check out our high-quality, locally grown annuals and perennials that are great for early season planting. We have every color of pansies and violas you can imagine. Perennials for the sun, perennials for the shade. Come talk to your local professional grower to find out which plants will work for you. Shake off those winter blues with a walk through our colorful greenhouses. Nanticoke Gardens. We know what we grow. Route 26 North in Endicott.
Hello and welcome back to the propagation house here at Nanticoke Gardens. Today we'll be sowing wave petunias. Actually today we are going to be doing Easy Wave White. So I know that for my numbers this week I need seedlings for approximately 270 plants. And it just so happens that we sow wave petunias with the Easy Seeder. It's a vacuum seeder. And on this particular tray, it's got a hole size for 288 seeds to fit into this tray right here. And we use this tray for certain seeds because the seeds are very expensive. For example, a wave petunia seed, just for the seed alone, it's somewhere around 20 to 25 cents a seed. So if I need 270 seeds, and waves have a high germination rate, approximately 95% to 100%, I want to try and get as close to my number as I can. So if I need 270 seedlings, I got this tray here for 288 seeds. I know that I won't be wasting any money on overseed. So the way this works is I pull this lever out, and when I turn it on, the pelleted seed will be sucked into each individual hole here on this particular tray, and the seed is a round pellet. There's a special coating on it so that it rolls around and it gets sucked into the exact size hole that is on here. So each vial here contains 100 seeds of Easy Wave White. I'm going to open up 4. So I know that I have 400 seeds on here, even though it takes 288. I won't have to mess around with trying to get it into every hole. And if you can zoom in here, you'll see that it's a pelleted seed. The color's not yellow. The actual petunia seed is probably about 20% of that size. So raw petunia seed without that coating is very, very small. So that's why we try and get as precise as possible. So I have my Easy Wave White seed on my seeder here. And what I'm going to do is take a regular seed flat like I would sow tomatoes or peppers or anything else in, and I'm going to dibble it with a tray that has exactly 288 holes on it. I'm going to put it on here on my wet it down seed flat. I'm going to press it like so. And you can see that it dibbled 288 holes on an open seed flat. So now I can turn on my seeder. I'll vacuum seed each pellet into each hole, and then I'll turn it upside down, and hopefully each seed lands in a dibble on this one. Okay, here we go. This is going to be a little loud. The motor from the vacuum is kind of loud, but I want you to kind of see how the process works here with the pelletized seed and vacuumed into the small hole. So here we go. Okay, you can see I have 288 seeds in each hole. There's a couple extra, but I don't worry about those. And so now you can see I've got a seed dropped in just about every hole here on my seed flat. I have Easy Wave White, week 9. I'm going to put that in there. Now petunias need light to germinate, so if you're trying to sow at home, you'll want to make sure that you do not cover these seeds. I put a little coating of vermiculite on just so the seed doesn't dry out. I try and get it as uniform as possible. And this is just to hold a little bit of moisture as that coating from the petunia seed wears off. If it's leaning up against a particle of vermiculite, it'll hold enough moisture in for that seed to germinate. And there you have it, 288 seedlings from Easy Wave White. Should be here in about 10 days. I'll put it on a bench at 72 degrees, and we should have germination pretty quick.
I'm here with Diane who is planting up some of our combination baskets. We thought it'd be a nice idea to give you an idea of what we do to plant up our combinations. We get a lot of compliments on our combination baskets during the season, and a lot of people don't realize what it takes to get that combination looking the way it does by the time we open. So we'll give you a little insight. Diane's planting some combinations here today. How many different combinations do you have on your list that you're working on?
About 12, I think.
Oh, nice, nice. And how many total baskets are you filling?
1,000 at least.
Nice. So the trick is finding varieties that grow good together, right?
Look good together, right?
Nice. And which ones are you planting today? Which ones are these here in the baskets?
Today we have Calabricoa.
Yeah. So the one you just planted here in the center, is that the yellow one?
That would be the Super Bell's Yellow Chiffon.
Okay. I'm not sure if you could see this, but we have 3 varieties here. We have a Super Bell's Yellow Chiffon. We have a Bacopa, white Bacopa, and a Super Bell's Plum. So those 3 varieties are going to be in this combination. Maybe we'll film them again in a couple of weeks and see how well they grew together. And maybe we'll get some shots of them flowering so you can see them at different stages in the process. Let's check out another variety here. Thank you, Diane.
You're welcome.
I'll leave those tags with you. Let's check out another combination that's very popular for Mother's Day. This one is called Bermuda Beach, I think is the name of the combination. Or Bermuda Skies, that's right. It has a petunia in it called Bermuda Beach. It has a Million Bells or Super Bell's Yellow Chiffon and a blue Laguna Sky Blue Lobelia. And those 3, you can see we put 6 plants in a basket. We'll alternate the Lobelia on either side of the pot, then a petunia, and then a Calabricoa. And we'll plant them on either side of the basket, and then when they grow together, you'll get an even distribution of the color in those combos. So again, those should be ready, full flowering, all grown together by Mother's Day. So several weeks to go before they're where they need to be. But you could make these combinations yourself. We sell all of these individual plants in 4.5-inch pots as well. And you could take 1 of each of these plants or 2 of each of these plants depending on the size of your container, and if you're unsure you can always ask somebody while you're here shopping, and we'll give you some pointers on how many to put in a basket or a container so that they grow well together. Thanks very much. I hope you found this interesting, insightful, and we look forward to seeing you in the spring. Okay, Diane, what are you working on today?
I'm taking cuttings from our ivy geraniums to plant into 4-inch pots. We'll put these on a heated misted bench till they root.
Great.
And we wean them off from the heat and the mist, and when they're rooted we'll pot them up.
Okay. So what are you looking for when what do you know is a good cutting? What's a good
A
cutting?
nice, thick, sturdy cutting that when you strip the bottom leaves off, there's still a little bit to stick down into the soil.
Okay.
And that's an ideal cutting right here,
Okay.
actually.
Nice. And how many cuttings do you think you're taking here?
Well, on these baskets, I'm only taking 1 per plant. There's 3 plants in the baskets, and I'm just
Okay.
taking 1 per plant. That way they'll be more even and
Okay.
won't be taking off too many.
You're not doing anything that you wouldn't normally do anyway, right? This is probably a good stage that you would pinch this plant
Yes,
anyway?
when the cuttings are taken, I'll go back and just do any more light pinching if they need it to even them up.
So it's essentially you're taking a pinch, but you're actually able to use that pinch as a cutting.
Yes, yes.
And root them. And
Yes.
then what do you root them in? You just a little 6-pack or?
We have 806s.
Okay.
Yep.
And good. How long have you been taking cuttings like this for?
23 years.
23 years.
Yes,
Wow.
23 years.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yep.
So you're on a certain variety here. You're on
Yes.
Contessa Bicolor.
Yes.
How many different varieties do you think you're doing today?
Oh my goodness. Well,
You have to
I've done
guess.
5 or 6, and I probably got 10 more to go.
Okay. A couple hundred cuttings altogether,
Oh,
probably?
there's several hundred. Yeah.
Okay.
This variety right here, I'm doing 72.
Nice. So I know we get our plants from, we talked earlier about we get our plants from 3 different places: seeds, unrooted cuttings, and rooted cuttings. What other types of unrooted cuttings do we do?
Well, today I've already done the New Guinea impatiens. All our fuchsia hanging baskets come from unrooted cuttings.
Right.
Herbs, just a lot of
A lot of different
Yes,
varieties.
yes.
Well, great. Well, thanks for showing us how you do it. We're just going to watch you take a few more cuttings here, and then we'll move on, and maybe we'll get to see you sticking those cuttings later.
Okay.
All right, Diane. So we're back from house 2. We've come over to house 11, the propagation house, and we're ready to stick those cuttings that you just showed us you took off those hanging baskets. And we're just going right into the propagation soil.
Yes.
Good.
These don't need any hormone. They root very well on their own.
Show us what one looks like right before you clean it, and then right after.
Okay.
So
You can see the extra leaves and the flower buds on it.
Yeah.
I strip all that off. And depending on how many leaves, I might leave, at least one big one. I try to leave one big one.
Okay.
And then right
Stick it right in the
into
center
the
of the
soil.
cell.
Yeah, about a 1/4 inch or so down. This one here doesn't need anything.
Okay. Do you ever come across a cutting that you've taken that sometimes during this process you won't use?
Yes, if they're too small or if I notice damage or...
Okay.
Okay, these are pretty
It's
nice.
okay. You can keep. I don't want to interrupt you. I'm just curious to what you're doing. So this variety is the Contessa Burgundy Bicolor.
Yes.
So we're very particular about you making sure that you get the right variety with the right tag, I assume?
Yes, because there's also a Contessa Burgundy,
Oh boy.
so
There's
very
a few
careful.
other bicolors, I think.
Yes, yes. Okay, so I'm putting the flat on the heated misted bench, and I'm going to set the automatic system to have the mist come on at intervals for 6 seconds every 20 minutes.
Today I'm propagating plants from seed, and I'm sowing tomatoes. It is the end of February, week 9 in our calendar, and that's the week that we start the first crop of forage tomatoes. It was about -15 last night with the wind chill, and today's temperature is about 14 degrees, 15 degrees, but inside the greenhouse it's actually about 72, 73. So the propagation house is always kept warmer than most of the other greenhouses because seeds generally germinate at around 72 degrees, generally speaking. And another way this house is unique is that we have heated benches, and that's what we use to propagate all our seedlings. We then cover them up with remay to hold the humidity in, and it creates a perfect environment for seeds to germinate. So to give you an idea of how we germinate our seeds, we use a special seed starting soil. It has no perlite in it, retains moisture very well. It's just peat moss and vermiculite. We press rows into it, similar to a furrow in the field. And then I have my handy dandy seeder here, which is an old razor with a little tray on it. So when I turn it on, the razor vibrates the tray, the seeds line up, and I can sow them into each row of the seed soil. So right now I'm sowing tomato La Roma. La Roma is a paste tomato, very popular in the area for canning, making sauces. It's a very meaty tomato, not very many seeds in it. It's very good for sauces. Probably one of the most popular types. That and San Marzano for making sauces. So I need to do 274-inch pots. So I'm going to shoot for sowing around 300 seeds. That's about 50 seeds in each row here. So not every seed is going to germinate in there, so you might see that I did a few extra than that. The germination of this particular variety is very high, 98%. So out of every 100 seeds, I should get about 98 under perfect conditions, which we try to create here. So after I sow the seeds, some seeds need light to germinate, some seeds need darkness to germinate. Tomatoes do not like light to germinate, they like to be covered lightly. So I'm using vermiculite, which is a soilless mix amenity, and I'm going to cover the seeds lightly, each row, with a light coating of vermiculite. I'll put the label in it for La Roma, and it will go on to the heated bench the rest of the tomato crop. I'll then water these in and set the temperature on this bench to be about 72 degrees. And I should start seeing the tomatoes germinate in about a week or so. Here you can see some of the others seedlings that have been here for a little while, and we'll do them in stages and take the seedlings off as they germinate and put them at the temperature that they would ideally like to grow. So all the seeds start in one house, and then they move to the different houses where the different temperatures are ideal for that particular plant's needs and how they grow best. And that is how we sow seeds at Nanticoke Gardens.
A few weeks ago, we filmed Chip sowing some tomato seedlings, and here we are about 5-6 weeks later, and we have an opportunity to take a look at those tomato seedlings now, and we have Sheila here who's transplanting them. It is now week 16 on the calendar, so we're sowing the second, or we're transplanting the second crop of tomato seedlings into 4-inch pots, which is the final container that customers will come and purchase them from. So what variety are you working with today?
I'm working on Sun Gold, and they were sown on week 11.
Week 11, great. So that's 5 weeks ago they were sown, so you could see the progress.
The size.
Great, excellent.
This variety I'm to plant 350.
Okay.
And these are, most people call them cherry tomatoes, but we call them small fruited. And I plant them in the terracotta color pots.
Mm-hmm. Good.
So when customers come, they might wonder why terracotta or green colored pots, but the terracotta are the small fruited tomatoes.
Right, so small fruited encompasses cherry tomatoes, grape tomatoes, so we kind of keep those segments separated so customers know when they come and shop for them. So, right, we're doing Sun Gold, very sweet flavored tomato. It's becoming more and more popular. Some people say it's the sweetest one we have, tastes like candy. So great, can you show us an example of how you would transplant tomato seedling into a 4-inch pot?
To pull the seedlings out, you can pull them out by rows. So I take a handful. You don't have to be as gentle as most people think, that they're so fragile, but you don't want to rip them apart. And then I just get a hold of one and I put it down as far as I can to the bottom leaf, nice and straight. We don't want any J's on the stems because then they won't grow right.
Good. Keep them straight.
Nice and straight.
Good.
Straight,
you go all the way down in there, deep like that.
As
Good.
far as the bottom leaf.
Some people say our tomatoes have a nice strong stem. You think that has something to do with it?
I'm sure that it does. I also think because we keep them drier, they don't get tall and leggy.
Yep.
And
It's
that
very
helps
true. We tend to keep our tomatoes very dry. This is the second crop of tomatoes, as I mentioned. Altogether, we do about 15,000 4-inch tomato pots. That's a mix between small fruited and slicing tomatoes. And each crop is split, maybe 40% in the first crop, 60% in the second crop. And we do a total of about 57 varieties, might be 58 this year. We have a couple of new ones, and sometimes we get rid of some varieties that don't perform as well around here. So every year we learn a little bit and tweak that number and tweak the varieties. But yeah, we're in this second crop, we're about 8,500, 9,000 pots just in this second crop. What number are you on, do you know?
523, I think.
Good.
Yeah.
She's very good at keeping track.
Yeah. Well, there's so many varieties. I really do have to pay attention.
Yes.
Because there are many serious tomato buyers, and they want a certain variety.
Sure.
And if I mess things up or mistag, and they get a beefsteak instead of a plum,
I'm sending them to you.
Yes.
It's very important. We keep every variety separate. There's only one variety in a seedling tray. We transplant one at a time, and then we go back and tag them all, and we repeat that process to make sure we get everyone right. There's no flowers, no way to tell the difference. Everything's green, so it's our job to keep it straight to make sure you get the right tomato when you bring it home. Thank you very much, Sheila. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
When everyone is picking that big juicy tomato off the vine and taking a bite into that nice sun-warmed, enjoy it and
remember
think of
where it came from. Remember where it came from. Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you.